Device. There we go. All right, let's see if this did it. Yep, here we go. Okay, so if you guys can hear me, let me know. This would be the time to do it. So just give me a holler if you can hear me. In the chat, if you could just say, okay, yep, okay, cool. And how's the volume? Maywish K or, okay, good. Can hear you, good, awesome. So it looks like Twitch is doing okay. If we can get somebody from YouTube and Facebook to chime in, that would be awesome. All right, cool, guys. All right, sounds like we are doing okay on Twitch. All right, good. We got some from YouTube also, and then Facebook is a little bit late, but if YouTube, here we go. Okay, fantastic. So hello everybody, and we are going to continue on with this project. So just to kind of catch everybody up real quick, we are modeling a spaceship, and right now we are modeling or working on it while it is in space dock, being built, right? So that's why we have all these cutouts, and I've kind of done a different kind of color scheme on it just for a render, but I'm going to go ahead and change the colors of the lights here to be a little bit lighter, like so, and reduce their intensity a little bit. And then let's go on to this light and reduce its intensity, and let's see, I'll have it about 2, and let's change the color to maybe a lighter color, like so. Okay, and still too strong, and let's move it over to here. Okay, so I'm basically just using the light cap light structure here. My normal lights are at 0.00002, just to kind of be able to see the lights and the materials and whatnot. So to catch everybody up real quick, if you want to watch, this is episode 5, I think. So there have been 4 episodes before this one. And if you guys want to watch the previous ones, you can go to Zbrush Live here, so zbrushlive.com, and then that'll take you to this page, and then just go to presenters over here. I do this every time, but I never know if there's somebody new, so it's always good to mention that. Here you'll find all the different presenters that present on the stream. And here am I, and also here are the previous episodes. So there's 4 previous ones, and this is just in season 3. Then season 2, they still don't have the names right. I mentioned it to them. They'll be changing it soon. But season 2 was modeling this spinner from Blade Runner. Season 1 was modeling a robot, and you guys can watch those 2. So we modeled a robot in season 1. In season 2, so I think we can see it here kind of in its final form. So this was season 1, and then season 2 we did the spinner, and season 3 we're doing the spaceship. So you can find these here on ZBrush Live. You can also, this is a good thing to go to look at the calendar, so you can see all the things that are coming up in the schedule of all the cool stuff that streamers do. And you can also go to the Pixologic's YouTube channel. You can find the previous episodes there, and I'm sure they're available on Twitch as well. I should kind of figure out how that works so I can talk about it. If you want to find out more about me, I have my website, Kermaco, Kermaco.com, and from there I've got all my social media stuff up here. You can see some of my work in here. And you can also follow me on Instagram, where I have more kind of newer stuff that I post. This is something I worked on recently in ZBrush. This is rendered in ZBrush as well. Done a little bit of compositing in Photoshop and whatnot. So all that you can find, again, Kermaco.com, and ZBrush Live is where you can find under presenters, under my name, you can find the previous episodes. Another thing I should also mention, some great news for those of you that are thinking of getting into ZBrush but don't want to spend any money on it. There's a free version now, ZBrush Core Mini, or Mini Core. I don't know if it's Mini Core or Core Mini. I'm assuming it's Core Mini, is a version of ZBrush that you can download for free. And it has a lot of, basically, a lot of the organic sculpting stuff, and it's a nice way to kind of learn how to use it. So kind of nice news, especially for my students. Some of them don't really want to get ZBrush right now, but they can play around with it. Let me change the background color here to something lighter as well. Maybe not that light. And let's get going. If you guys have questions, just shoot them out, and I will stop every once in a while and address them. So basically, if I just kind of go through what we have here, I'll hide the station for now. What we have here is we have the spaceship that's going to be 2 parts. So there's a front part and a back part. And then we also have some innards. And I don't know if you can see all that really well. Maybe I should change my material to a lighter material, like so. And let's see if that changes things. Not as much. And maybe change my material to basic material. Here we go. All right, so I think I might have poly painted some of these, so that's why they're showing up darker. All right, so here you can see that there's different levels of construction. And notice that if I get closer, it gets a little bit, more undefined. But from a distance, from about maybe this distance, everything looks really good. And then if I'm going to zoom in on certain areas, or if I need to render close-ups of anything, of course, I'll get into that area and detail it out more. But basically what we have here is we've got, and I'll start out with the kind of the front part first. And let me hide this kind of back part. And I also will hide all the different things that are around it, which you guys are like, what are those things? We'll talk about that in a minute. And yeah, so here we have just the front part of the ship, right? And I have this in a completely constructed form. I think it's down here somewhere. It's here, right here. So this is the kind of the spaceship itself. And then there are inside parts, which we've worked on before, and I've given instructions on how to do that. I think the light needs to be a little bit brighter. Here we go. I think that'll help. Here we go. So over here, what we have done is we've just basically built this part, and we detailed it out with using alphas and projection and surface noise. And then we also, in addition to this, we have the inside parts. So here I have a cutout version, so it's basically the same thing, but inside parts have been cut out. And maybe let me double the display here so you guys can see the inside, like so. Right, so I basically just cut pieces of it out, and I haven't actually cut them out. I've just hid them, so I can always reverse this as well, and I can right. So this is the reverse. And I can click once and then show the parts that were hidden before, right? So there's this. And then I've got the inside parts, which we also did in the previous sessions. And in the previous sessions, so I will do those individually. So we've got, I guess in the order of detail, I'll start with this one. So this is basically more of the scaffolding of the ship. So it's just basically kind of the inside pieces that hold the ship together. So they start out with this part, and then we add more detail, which is this, and then we add a little bit more detail, which gives us this. And I've colored these differently so you can see them. And so this kind of shows different level of completion. So I haven't really decided what level of completion I want this to be in while it's being built. And then when we bring this up, it kind of shows through, the different pieces show through, right? So here I'm just going to go back all the way down to here. So now you can see it being built. And I think this kind of indicates more of it being built than anything else. And the good news is of these other ones too, I can hide certain portions. So here, let's say I don't want to see this midsection. I can always go in and hide that part like so. I think, did I do the right one? I did. Yeah, here we go. Let's turn this one on. So now I can see the scaffolding over here, but in some of the other parts, it's more completed. So I can also selectively just, hide or show certain parts of this that I want to display, like that, for example. So now the scaffolding will show through. So I can use this in a lot of different ways and get a ton of different compositions and different views of it, and figure out what the best one is as I go forward. And again, all of it is non-destructive. I can bring things back. So here, if I want to show kind of this more completed version, there's that. And then I can hide parts of that as well. So we did that with the front part. So this is the front part of the ship that separates out. And then there is the back part, which is this, right? And then we also have innards of that as well. So I think I've got another 2 or 3 of that. Here's 1, here's 2, and here. I think maybe I just have 2 of that one. So here's the scaffolding kind of inside. And then there are the other parts, which are kind of more details and greebles and things like that. Okay, so we have this, and then we also have the little things that build these. So there are these ships right here, and I'll just switch to that subtool. So these are little robots, or they could also have humans in them. And these roam around the ship and put it together in space, right? And so I made an IMM brush with this, and I'll probably need to, I want to make another one right now because I'm going to use it. So pretty straightforward. Just go in here, maybe lift it off the surface a bit, and then just go to brush and create insert mesh, new, and append, or not append, but create Nanomesh brush. Okay, so now I've got this as a Nanomesh brush. I can go in and do more Nanomesh work on what we worked on before. Okay, so let's go back to our spaceship, and here it is. And so what I also did is, with the spaceship itself, I have two different versions of it, and let's go ahead and just bring this up and solo it out. So this is just the entire body. I dynameshed it first to fuse them together, and then just zero meshed it. And zero meshed it to a resolution like this, where I can insert all the nanomeshes that go around it and build it up. And then I also did a little bit of an inflate, so I can add a whole other level of it. And what I'm going to do again today is I'm going to go ahead and zero mesh this one more time. So it's just a pretty simple process here of zero meshing it at half, just to get less geometry. Like so, and we're going to keep doing this until it's very little. So we got very few polygons representing the shape. And then what I want to do is just go into deformation here and inflate this thing so that it is even more inflated and less defined, like so. Do it a few times. All right, and then I'm just going to go ahead and go back and dynamesh it again, so it basically fuses it together. So just a simple dynamesh like this, that's fine, and then zero mesh it. The first one's going to take a long time because it's trying to figure out the polygonal structure. I should smooth it out too. I'll do that next. All right, so here is the first one that took this long. Of course, we don't need that many polygons. So I'll continue to do this as it goes on. And while it's doing it, let's see. Okay, so we have no questions. That's always good. I can just continue on. All right, so I keep doing this zero meshing just until I get less polygons. I think this is looking good, like so. And then maybe what I'll also do here is just switch to a clip curve, and I don't really need these parts to be jutting out like that. That's good, and I'm just going to smooth it out. And the reason why I'm doing this, you'll see in a minute. And I think that's enough polygons. Maybe do one more zero mesh. Let's get it less. That's good, like so. And then let's double the number of polygons and zero mesh it again. Okay, that's exactly what I need. Okay, so this is basically just going to be another version of this. And did I duplicate the first one? I didn't. So let me go all the way back to what I had here and duplicate that. Let's see. Yeah, let me duplicate this one. So I have a copy of it, and then go back to this one and go all the way over to what we did. Okay, so now is when I'm going to insert the Nanomesh brush. So switch to the ZModeler, Nanomesh. Where are you? Insert Nanomesh. There it is. And let's see if it inserts. No, it's going to insert a cube, which we're going to do also. But for now, what I'm going to do is just do the thing that we made. So I'm going to switch to this brush. Let's see if this does it. Yep. Okay, so this will insert a nanomesh there. But what I want to do is not insert it on one polygon. Let's see if this does the right thing. No. There is a place where I can choose the Nanomesh brush. Can I do it after the fact? Let's see here. Under, where are you? Oh, here we go. I'm there already. Okay, so here, if I go in and insert the Nanomesh, where can I choose my brush? Let's see. Show placement, edit, polysphere. That's not what I want. turn this off and then turn it on again. Let's go to this. I think I'm sure there's a way to do this. I've kind of forgotten. So instead of wasting everybody's time, I'm going to do a very simple thing here by just going back to this tool and just quickly creating another Nanomesh brush. Create insert mesh, new, like so, and create Nanomesh brush. Okay, and this will do it. And now it will insert that that spaceship. Okay, so what we want to do here, looks like this thing's got butt cheeks. Okay, so let's let me expand this out real quick. Restore my custom UI, and I don't want to do that right now. Let's just do the nanomeshes first. Okay, so now I'm just going to insert the nanomeshes this way, and what I also want to do is bring the other ones up so I can compare let's see, I think everything is inside. Yeah, everything is inside. So what we have now is we have this kind of thing on the outside, way out, away from all the other subtools. And for good measure, let me hide this one to move this one up, just so I have the right order. Okay, and now I just want to create these things again. So I just need to plant 2 down, but I want to put it on everything. So insert nanomesh, all polygons, and pop these on. And again, it doesn't really matter the size and everything just yet, but it will in a tiny little bit here. Okay, so with that done, I'll just go to the Nanomesh menu, and I can mess around with the scale, probably make these a little bit smaller, like so. And then what we're going to do is we're going to play around with the offset. So the first thing is the Z offset. We're going to change that, make it kind of far away from this object, and then add some variation. So some of them are closer and some of them are further. Okay. And then we'll do a little bit of a Y offset too. Again, we're just doing this to create kind of more of a random look. What's kind of cool is that the animation that happens as I'm moving this is kind of neat. And so maybe there's a way to capture that and then offset the X as well. Right, so I just want the, okay, so right now they look pretty random, but they're not as random as I'd like, and I don't like this many of them, so then I'll just do random distribution here to choose a lot less of them further out. Okay, so I think that looks okay for now, so I think I'm just going to go ahead and make that into a model. So now it's geometry, and then I really don't need this part. Oops. Let me go back to select. Let's do this. And what I don't need is this part right here. Control-Shift-A and split hidden. All right, so now I've got those parts separated out, I'm hoping. Let me see here. Nope, I don't want to do that. Okay, so here they are, right? So I've got this layer of these spaceships kind of further away as well. And so I'm just going to go ahead and move this down and turn on all the other ones. So now there's all these spaceships going around. Turn transparency off as well. So there are all these little spaceships going around. I think these ones ended up being a lot bigger than the other ones. So I don't know if there's a way to, if I reduce the scale, it's going to reduce the scale of everything. So I need to do one more of these. So the good news is if you didn't pay attention before, you'll see how I'm doing it again. I'm going to delete this. It's okay. Go back to here and insert nanomesh and make them a lot smaller. I kind of got deceived by the size of these polygons here. So now we'll just go into Nanomesh and do all those changes. So the first thing again is the offset, move them out, vary them out. Let's see, what does this do? This might be better. because I want these to be a bit closer. That's good. And then Y offset a little bit, X offset a little bit. Add some variations to those. And then just do the random distribution. About that number looks good. And then 1 to mesh. And then, so the thing is, right now what it does is it basically adds these two together. And I'm going to use a different way of doing this. I'm going to say mask. Where is it? Mask and island. And I'm going to mask this. And then I'm just going to split the mask parts. Okay, so now this is kind of exactly what I wanted. Right, so I've got all of these things floating around the ship, building it. And if I go back here to my station and bring it back, so these are all kind of floating around the station, building it up. So I keep making the station bigger and smaller because, you know, I kind of think maybe something in space would not be as big as it was before, but this seems okay. And there will be a kind of another thing I'll be adding in the station. I'm not showing it right now, but there'll be like some sort of a building or some other type of a ship that basically is where all these people sit and all the materials come to. So this is kind of a little bit of a spaceport, and everything comes into here, and then all these ships go around and build the spaceship. All right, so today I also want to do a couple other things. So in addition to the spaceships, I also want to do a Nanomesh Pass with like some boxes and crates and things like that. And for that, I'm going to go to the one that's the initial one of these. Solo that out. And for this, I'm going to also use Nanomesh, but for this one I need the box. I don't need the spaceship, so hopefully that's what's going to come up. Yep, this is exactly what I want, but I want it on all polygons, so let's do that. All polygons and add these. And these are just crates and stuff that will be floating in space. Again, I'm going to do some, here I'm just adding one to every single polygon, which I don't really need. And then again, just go to the Nanomesh menu and do all my adjustments there. So the first thing is I can adjust the size. So I need these to be not as big, maybe like this. And then let's go ahead and for the Z offset, I'm going to push them in, right? So they're going inside the model. And then what I want to do here is I don't want to vary the rotations. I just want to keep them uniform. And I want to go ahead and align them a certain way too. So align to normal. Let's see which one. Say I'll align them to the normal. I think that looks the best. Let's randomize them. We don't want that many. We just want a few. But I also want to change the size of these things. So I'm going to change their length. And vary that. So there's different lengths of different ones. And maybe adjust their height, vary that as well, and adjust, I think, length and height and width, right? But I want these to be like crates, so I'm not going to have that many. Excuse me. Get a drink of tea here. Everybody's really quiet today. No questions. That's good. I mean, it's, you know, you can ask questions. I don't mind it. I'm just, all right. So now I'm just trying to rotate these things, figuring out a rotation angle. And this is kind of what I want, is them kind of rotating inwards. And these are like crates and stuff that'll be on the ship. So that's good. That's fantastic. I think that's going to do it for me. And then one to mesh. And then same thing. I'm just going to go in here and mask. Not the edge, do nothing for edge, but for polygon, I'm going to mask island, mask this, and then split masked points. So these are the different crates. And again, it looks like there's a lot of different crates here. I don't know if I need this many. I could probably go in and delete some of them. And the best way to do that is just to click on delete island and just click on the ones I don't want. Let me see here. I want to make sure I'm not moving and doing anything with the points. And this mask, nope. Okay. So here we go. And do I have symmetry on? I do. These shouldn't be symmetric. And then I can just delete them one by one like this. Or another thing I can also do, of course, is just deselect them like that and delete them. But for now, I'm just going to leave them. I think there's certain areas that I don't really want them to be that many of them. Let's see. Looks like they're forming some sort of a silhouette, but it's good enough. Okay, so let's see what that looks like with everything else. Right, that just kind of adds more to the construction. And then one other thing I want to do this one last time, and again with the same geometry that I had before. I want to do ones that are going to be spheres. So let me actually go ahead and let's let Zbrush save this. If anybody has questions, just shoot them out now, because this save is going to take a little bit of time. There's a lot of geometry here being saved. All right. I guess I can turn on some music while this is happening. I haven't done my scene cleanup, so if I do my scene cleanup, the save will take a lot less time. But this wasn't that bad. Okay, so now what we're want to do is we want to let's bring this back down here, and let's switch again to the closest one of all of these, which is this one. Solo it out, and what I want to do now is just go to Polymesh 3D here and and initialize this as a sphere 3D. No, maybe polysphere. Where is it? There you are. And we don't need this many. We just need it to be maybe like something like this. Let's do an 8 by 8 by 8. There's an easier, of course, there's easier ways of doing this, but kind of went actually. It's kind of hard to do this with a stylus, so I'll do it with a mouse. So there's 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And lastly, this one. So just an 8 by 8 by 8, I think, is good enough. I wonder if I can get away with 2. I mean 4. Let's try 4 by 4. By 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops, not 6, 4. I think this is good. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this thing and create an insert mesh with it. So now I'm basically going to have a sphere as an insert mesh brush. So right here, create insert mesh, new. Right, so now I've got this, and then with this I also want to create a Nano Mesh brush, and then switch back to the Spaceship, do the same thing over again, but this time insert Nano Mesh all polygons, but this time what we're going to do is just do the sphere. Hopefully that's what's being added. Yep. And I want these to be really small, and I don't really need that many of these. I actually need very few. So here, let me just make sure symmetry is off. And what we want to do here is, again, go to Nanomesh. And these are going to be lights. So basically, I will apply an emissive material to them so that all the inside parts here are going to illuminate. So again, I'm just going to go ahead and the rotation doesn't really matter. I'm going to set that to 0. But I want the offset to be inwards. So these are going inwards. Let's turn transparency on so we can see them. So these are all going to go inwards, and actually I'll do that later. So let's have it go outwards for now so we can see what they are and how many we have. And then I'm just going to do, I'm not going to do any of the other stuff, but I'm just going to do the random distribution. And just have a few of them, not as many, just because I want these to be lights. And now that we have it, I'm just going to push them into the model, right? So they're going to be inside the model. And then again, let's just go ahead and mask this out. And hide split masked points. Oh, sorry. Let's do this split mask. Yeah, right. Let's do this right. Okay, so not mask. But what I want to do is split masked points. All right, let's just do this again. Oh, yeah, I didn't do the one to mesh. Let's do that first. Okay, now we'll mask it. And now I will go ahead and do the thing where I just hide the masked parts or split mask points. Bam. Okay, and there are our lights. Okay, there's still a lot of them. I might reduce them later, but this is a good amount. Okay, so now if I bring everything back, those lights are going to be inside the model, as you can see. I don't know if you can see it. I'll zoom in a little bit. But they're inside the model, and I'll just add emissive materials to them in Keyshot or something like that, and they will show up as lights. So, yeah. All right, let's just wait a minute here for it to come back. There it is. All right. So now I'm done with this part, and so I have the spaceship and I have all the different nanomeshes. Today we're going to do a couple of other things. One of them is we're going to finish modeling the kind of the reflectors, and I'll bring those up in a minute. So let me turn off transparency here, and I'm going to hide all these nanomesh things because you guys know where they are. I don't need to see this. So I'm going to hide the space station. And so what I'll do here is all these nanomesh things, I will add them into a folder. So new folder, nanos. And what I'll do is every single one of these nanomesh things, I'll put them in this folder so I can turn them all on and off at the same time. All right, this one too, and this one too, right? So with one button, I can turn all these nanomesh thingies off. All right, and then here are the wings we're going to work on. So these look like wings, but they're really not. They're just reflectors, right? So these retract into the spaceship. And so when it is moving, these are not going to be there. So when it's moving fast or going through space or whatever, doing its jumps, these are not going to be there because, of course, they'll break off. But when it stops and it needs to refuel from, let's say, a solar source or some energy source, then these open up. And when they open up, it just the spaceship is moving very slowly, or it is orbiting something, and it is just using these to collect rays. And these rotate, so they also will individually rotate. So right now I've got them both in the same subtool, but I'm going to go ahead and separate them out and work on each one of them individually. Not each wing, but each two individually. So here I'm going to do that, and then split hidden. That's kind of a cool silhouette for an airplane. And then also, I don't really need to see the innards and everything for now, so I'm going to to make things faster, I'm just going to go ahead and hide all the innards, and I'm going to bring up the actual ship itself and not the kind of the sectioned off parts, but the actual spaceship in the form that it is. And I think there should be a better one than this. Let's see here. I should group these in a folder too. All right, and just put these in a folder. Here I'm just kind of making things so that it's easy to organize and view things. So here I'll hide all these, and I don't need to see the nanos. What's this one? Okay, this is the merged ant. I don't really need to see this one. What is this one? Oh, these are nanos as well. All right, I'll just add them in here. Okay, so now let me turn off polyframe, not perspective. Okay, so this is the back part, I guess. I thought I had a more detailed back part. Oh, here it is. Yep, this is what we want. Not this one. So I've got this back part, and I should move all these other ones into construct. Notice that I'm always organizing my model just to make sure. I should probably put these inner things in their own thing too. but for now we are good. And I think this is, let me duplicate this one and unhide all the rest. Okay, so this is the front part of the back side of the ship, and this is the front. And if I unsolo it, so this is kind of what the spaceship looks like without the cutout parts. And so today what we're going to do is we're going to build these wings and model them, detail them out and everything, and also figure out how they retract. And also then I'm going to go ahead and start adding kit bash parts onto the spaceship to create the exhaust jets and all that kind of stuff. All right, so let's see if we've got, wow, it's like dead quiet, no questions. Nobody has any questions at all? Where are you guys tuning in from? Kind of curious what countries or states or locations. Anybody from Australia? I don't know what time it is there. Probably some people from Europe. Okay, all right. No worries. Wow, Kuwait. That's wild. Where else? Brazil. Hey. Melbourne. Okay, yeah, we do have somebody in Australia. That's amazing. Michigan. All right. Moving to South Carolina. Okay. And Rhode Island. All right. So quite a few locations. That's great. Mexico. Nice. So, okay. All right, Canada. It looks like we've got everybody. Let's see. What continent don't we have? We have Asia. We have South America. We have North America. Anybody from Europe? Oh, I'm not in Australia. I'm in California. I'm in Los Angeles. Sorry, I just was. I wanted somebody to be here from Australia because because it's the only continent I think I haven't been to. So coming up next at some point. All right. Okay. So with the wings, what we're going to do, I guess, is just try to figure out how to model them. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up Polyframe for now. And which one am I on? I think I'm on this one right here. All right. So the first thing I want is to figure out, okay, what would be kind of some cool details I can add to this. So I'm going to start cutting it up. Let me turn on symmetry. It's on already. I'm going to start cutting it up. So I'm going to use... I'm going to use the slice brushes, slice curve. Right. Is there anything hidden here? Nope. All right. So I should be able to slice, right? Yep. Okay. Cool. All right. Now the thing with slice curve, the slice brushes, is that they're not going to be symmetric, right? So I did this here, but it didn't do it symmetrically, so I just need to do it on one side and then have it, and then just duplicate that on the other side. So here, maybe something like this, something like this. Right, maybe we'll add one like that. Just some sort of interesting design that looks good. And I don't know if you guys can see it. Maybe I should choose a different material for it too. What do I have here? Basic material, that's good. I think the light is still really strong. So what I'm going to do here is just to kind of get the lighting to be a little bit better, I'm going to go ahead and go to light cap, and I can delete these lights. I can recreate them, no worries. I'm gone, light 2 gone. And then just pump this one up to about there. Okay, this looks much better. All right, so here, let's see. So I probably want some sort of a border. Let me move the lights to somewhere else. Okay, I probably want a border over here like this. Don't want a triangle though. I don't know how I'm going to get a quad there. It's fine. Right there, and like so. ZBrush adds this other edge for me, which I don't want. I think it's fine the way it is. I'll maybe do that later. All right, so that looks good. Now let's get some depth to it. So what I want to do is QMesh island, and let's add a little bit of depth to this plate like so. That's looking good. And another thing I also was interested in seeing is what if I delete like some of these? Like what if I remove this? Does this add symmetry still on? I guess now is a good time to mirror and weld it. So now I've got it on both sides. And let's see, what if I do this and maybe I do this? Does that add anything to it, or do this? Does that add any more visual interest to it? I think it kind of does. I kind of like it. Let's see what it looks like in silhouette. It definitely adds to the silhouette. All right, so that's going to be a keeper. And then I'll probably add some sort of a material to this later on, and we'll probably use some kit bash parts as the connector. So that's looking good. So let's move on to this one now. Yeah, I'm liking that a lot. Okay, so for this one, again, same thing. Going to go to the slice curve, brush, and I'm going to do this side. Let's see. Like so. Like so. And like so. All right, that looks good. For the most part, and then I'm going to mirror and weld it so I got it symmetrical. And then let's QMesh island, QMesh this up just a little bit to add thickness. All right, and then let's see here. I think for this one, I'm just going to see what happens if I delete just this. Wow, this one got to be really thick. I don't want it to be that thick. Oh, let me try using. There we go. Oh, I don't know why it wants to be super, super thick. That's what I want. All right, so now let's go ahead and QMesh a single poly. Let's do this one. All right, and just for kicks, let's see what happens if I do this one too. No, I think it's better if I keep that one. And then another thing I can also do is, let's say I push this one out like this. And for good measure, let's see what happens if I do this one too. Nope, that one didn't look as good, but the front part I like, and I'll probably do that with this one here, but I don't like it being square, so I'm going to go to edge mode here and slide these edges in. Trying to keep this line that I have. Oh, that's not what I want. All right, so that looks good there, and then let's switch over to this one and do the same thing. So bring this one out, and I'll bring this one out too, just for kicks. Oops. Off and slide these edges in. That's good, and then do the same thing here. Like so, and like so. All right, so now I've got this. as the wings or the kind of the reflectors, and I like the silhouette. It looks good. And so I think I'm just going to stop here with these guys, and we'll figure out adding a texture to them later. Another thing that I also did is I have them at different angles so that if we look at this thing from the front, it has a interesting silhouette. I like that a lot, and I think we are good to go here. So now what I want to do is I'm sorry I have to do this here just because I don't want this to be super busy. So I'm going to get rid of some things. One thing before I do that also, I should show this. I did last time, but I'll show it again, is that I have reference here that basically is an aircraft carrier and a 747. So just for scale purposes, if people are wondering how big this thing is, this is how big it is, right? So if I compare it to a 747 jet, this is how big it is, and if I compare it to a aircraft carrier, this is how big it is. So it's about 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 aircraft carriers long. Let's see if I can do this here. So let's move this over, and it's 1, 2, 3, maybe about 4 aircraft carriers long. All right. So, but what I want to do here is clean up my scene a bit. So I've got a lot of tools and whatnot that I don't need. So I'm going to get rid of them just because I want to clear up, because when I bring kitbash things over, it's going to really take over a lot of memory. So I'm going to delete this one. I'll keep this one just for kicks. This is the main one. So the carrier that I brought in, I don't need that as a separate tool. I don't need this as a separate tool. I'll delete that as well. So Zbrush is saving. So let's see. We have some questions. Crosis Dova is asking, is it better to model spaceships in Maya rather than Zbrush? Good question. So, I mean, you could do it in either, right? I feel like I can do the kinds of things. So if you watch the rest of the videos, if you watch the ones that I did before, doing that kind of stuff in Maya takes a long time. I mean, yes, you can get some plugins and you can get some other things that will help you speed things up, but it'll take you a lot longer to get this result in Maya than in Zbrush. So for me, I did this whole thing in Zbrush. I haven't done anything in Maya for this. Again, it's something that it would be really hard to do in any other program. I can't think of any other program that can do this kind of stuff. I don't use Houdini, so maybe Houdini has some magic things that do these kinds of things. But for the most part, all the things that I did for this project are solely, it's a capability that can only kind of happen in Zbrush. I think I made this earlier, and I'm going to copy it and paste it into my project. We might use it for something, so I'm just going to add this to construct. Here, append or insert or paste. None of those. Okay, paste, there it is. And so I don't need this as a separate thing. I'm going to delete it as a tool. I don't know why it's not deleting it. Come on, go away. Delete. Nope. Doesn't want to. All right. Let's see. And there's another tool that has 5 things. This one. Take a look at this one. Okay, this was when we were building this thing up. I don't know if I need to keep this for now, so I'm just going to delete it. Delete all. Okay, that's gone. And delete this one. So for some reason, Zbrush is keeping one tool for each one of these 3 polymeshes that I don't want. So probably when I load it up next, I can get rid of them then. But I don't think this is going to be that big of an issue. So here what I'm going to do is, here's another trick. Just append to polymesh 3D. Where is it? generic Polymesh 3D. Is there one somewhere? No, somehow it's messed up and it thinks these are Polymesh 3D, so I'm just going to delete. Where is my original Polymesh 3D? It should be showing up here. Let's see, Polymesh 3D 1. There's this one. Let's delete that one. I was going to keep that one. Definitely keeping that one. This one can go. And it's not going to delete it. I think next time I start ZBrush, it'll clean it up. But for now, I think I've got what I need. So I'm going to switch back. I don't need to see these construction parts. Let's go back to the spaceship itself, which is right here. And while I'm at it, again, sorry to do this here, but call this innards. And I'm going to put all the innards into the innards folder. So this one, this one, this one, and all these inside parts. Close that out, hide it. Let's see. So I just want to get this as kind of sparse as possible. And just here's the wing 1, wing 2, right? So then everything else is organized in folders. And for good measure here, so I don't have to do this again. Looks like there's something being duplicated here. Just click on that. Okay, so now we're good. I'm just going to do a quick save real quick, just to kind of not have to do all this again if there's a crash or something that happens. All right, so let's see here. Valisnov 101, hello back, and so Carlos asking, what's the top wish I had that ZBrush can add? This answer is going to be an interesting one. So, I think Carlo's asking, what's the top thing I want to add to ZBrush? And the top thing I want to add to ZBrush is I want them to do what they've been doing. I don't want them to listen to me. I want them to do what they do, because they do things really well. ZBrush has a lot of capabilities that are very innovative and really smart and very cool. And I want them to continue to add really cool stuff to it. There isn't a specific feature that I say, well, it'd be great if you add this or that. I mean, if I'm going to go list things down, I'll say, it would be cool to have subfolders within subfolders for grouping. That would be nice. But it doesn't hurt me that much. Maybe add some kind of something like a rendering engine that is like Eevee. That would be nice. But then again, I can always load this into Blender and do that kind of stuff in there. So I could have a big wish list of stuff, but I don't want them to listen to me. I want them to do what they do best, which is come up with like crazy, amazing ways of doing 3D modeling and sculpting. So don't listen to me, Pixologic. Do what you do. And I'll be more than happy to enjoy what it is that you come up with. All right, some other questions. How does scaling work in ZBrush, for example, to figure out how large the aircraft carrier is compared to the spaceship or compared to the floor view or in ZBrush? Okay, so scaling in ZBrush is really nice. It's pretty simple, and it's one of those things where right now I'm not really caring about scaling. I'm doing it based on reference. So when I turn this on, this aircraft carrier isn't really the size of an aircraft carrier, right? So it's just within ZBrush's scale properties. But if I wanted something to be a specific scale, like for 3D printing or something like that, you can set that up. And there's a lot of streams. I think Joseph Drust is doing a few 3D printing streams, and there's quite a few other folks that do more on exact scaling. So you can do exact scaling in ZBrush, but in my case here, I'm just doing concept design. I don't really care about the scaling exactly yet. I will if this needs to go into a movie or something like that, but for now I'm just basically keeping it at whatever scale this is. The only reason why I've got the airplane and the carrier is just for reference, for comparison for me, right? So that kind of gives me a frame of mind of like what that scale is, and I don't really have to, I can't do something that's kind of going to be weird scale wise. So right now everything's kind of within this type of scale. So I've got, I could only use one of these two, but I thought I'd have both of them. I loaded the airplane first, but it was too small. Then I said, let me just load a carrier. And I know the 747 and the carrier are to the right scale. So, that's why a 747 can't land on a carrier, because it's really big. But small jets can. All right. So I hope that answers your question, Croesus. If it doesn't, let me know and I'll go into it. Okay. So, Ice Candy is a beginner in ZBrush. This is a beginner. This is more advanced Ice Candy. There are some beginner classes or streams. I would watch. Joseph Drust is doing a whole new bunch of Z classrooms that are kind of starting from scratch. Those are good. And also, let me also mention this. If you're new to ZBrush, you can always go to Z Classroom or just go to pixologic.com and then go to Z Classroom. So here. Right, so if you go to Z Classroom, there's a ton of training there, right? So here you can say you are a beginner. If you click on this button, it shows you all the beginner classes, right? And so these are all the beginner classes, and you can watch these videos and learn them. I'm sure they'll have some more. And if you're new to ZBrush and you don't have ZBrush, you can get ZBrush Core Mini for free now, and you can kind of start learning that, and then once you learn that, you can move on to ZBrush Core maybe, and then move to ZBrush. So I hope that answers that question. Hey, Ice Candy's in Korea. Wow, all right, so cool. We got 2 people from Asia. Yeah, in Drust we trust, that's right. Hazonku is saying, in Drust we trust. Definitely we do. He is awesome in explaining stuff, and just an amazing person at Pixologic. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and start loading in the kit bash parts. So here, I just bought one the other day. And unfortunately, I kind of want to give this guy some kudos, but his kit bash kit was so... was so problematic that I had to go in and fix some of it. And here, let me see if I can remember his URL. I should mention it because some of the parts are really nice, but I think the topology and the way it's done is kind of not as good as it can be. So I think it's called Digital Hunky is the name of the company. So let me go ahead and start loading these in. They're going to take a while to load in. And then I'll go and find his website. I think it's on Gumroad, and it's Digital Hunky. I can type. This guy right here. And so the good news is he's got some good kit bash parts that are free. So there's this one that's totally free, so you can get it. And then he's got another one, I think this one. Volume 1 is free and Volume 3 is free. Volume 2 is $10, which, for more, it's not bad, the pricing. But the problem is you got to do some cleanup on these parts. So some of these have all sorts of issues, so you got to do some cleanup. So I did the cleanup and created a tool, a ZBrush tool with them, which is loading in the background. Yeah, so here they are, right? So these are all of the different kit bash parts that he's got, right? And I've got them all loaded into one. Do I have them in one tool or no? I have more. Yeah, so there's a couple of, so this is one set right here. And I've got those broken out. I think this is the number 2 one, which is $10. And then I've got another one here. So I think this is one of them. Also, let me solo it and select it. So there's this one, and then there's this one. So there, I think these are the two free ones, and then the other ones are the ones that are $10. So I just have them brought up in here. Excuse me, I think I've got a question or two. Okay. Excuse me. Sure. So the first thing is you want me to toggle on the floor. So there's the floor. And I think you want me to toggle on the floor with the spaceship, right? So here's the spaceship and there's the floor, right? So that's kind of the scale of the spaceship and the floor. And if you can see here, if I turn off perspective, you can see that I'm within ZBrush's unified space. So I like working in that unified space. So you can see here from the top that it is kind of in that kind of area. Maybe not top to bottom, but definitely from side to side, I'm in that area. And the reason why the floor is so low here is because there's probably some other thing that's at the bottom. Probably probably these guys are down there. Nope, they're not. There's something else that's down here in my subtool set. So once I streamline my subtools, then the floor will be right underneath the spaceship. And then, do you have, yeah, you do have to worry, if you're 3D printing, you definitely do have to worry about the scale, right? So if you are 3D printing, what I would do is I'd finish my model and then you can scale it to that. And there's a bunch of different plugins for that too. There's like Scale Master, and so here on the plugins, I think there's 3D Print Master, right? Or 3D Print Hub it's called, and that has a bunch of things where you can choose in millimeters or inches exactly how big your model is. So you can use this, and then there's another thing called Scale Master as well. I should have it somewhere in here, right? And Scale Master can help you scale things as well. So once, when I'm sculpting, I don't really worry about scale, but when I'm done, I use those plugins to kind of get the part to be exactly the size that I need for 3D printing. Okay. You need a multi-language translator for YouTube lectures. South Korea is not good at English, so I can't understand the lectures. Yeah, Ice Candy, I hear you. And I think the technology for that is getting closer and closer, right? So I think now you can hit a button that does closed captioning, which will try to get my words into text. And some foreign students that I have use that to do the translation. And hopefully, with technology moving so fast, soon there'll be something like the Universal Translator in Star Trek, and then everybody can understand everybody else. Another thing I'm also interested in doing is if I've got some Korean students, I'll talk to them and see if they can do translating real time for Korean audiences. So I'll talk to Pixologic, and I'll talk to some of my students, see if we can make that happen. But it'll be interesting to know how many people from South Korea would be tuning in. So if it's a big number, I can probably work something out. If it's a few people, obviously the effort will be a lot for that. Okay, so let's see. Kondratbull is asking, is it necessary for 3D artists to know how to do everything from modeling to retopologizing to texturing when working in production? Yes and no. This is what I tell my students usually. So there's two kinds of people. There are generalists, and then there are specialists. And then there are specialists that are very special, right? So there's kind of people that do everything, but they don't know everything in detail, but can do everything. So smaller companies hire artists that in Maya, for example, they model, they texture, they animate, they render, they do everything, but to a certain level of depth. And then bigger companies hire specialists that do something very specific. So there are companies that hire people that just do sculpting, right? So, if you watch ZBrush Masters, a lot of these guys have been working on movies. They do amazing stuff, but they're very limited in what they do, right? So, like you look at Gio Nakpil, for example, amazing sculptor, really, really amazing figurative sculptor, does amazing work, but he just does, mostly does sculpting. And I'm sure he knows about retopology, and I'm sure he knows about all that other stuff. But usually the companies get people to do that for them, right? So, but it's very hard for a generalist to be as good of a figurative sculptor as Geo, because Geo has the background and has that kind of level of expertise in doing kind of organic sculpting, right? And then you look at other people, and then you look at Shane Olson, right? And he's really good at doing kind of more kind of stylistic sculpting, and his stuff is really good. And you look at Redbeard, his stuff is really amazing and it's stylistic, right? So you have to decide what you want to do. You want to decide whether you want to specialize and do something you really like and get really good at it, or you might want to decide to do a lot of, kind of be a generalist, know a lot about everything, and then kind of, so you basically, you should always be learning. You should always be adding to your skill set. But on the other side, you should also kind of maybe figure out exactly what you enjoy doing and do that. I kind of learned Maya and I learned Zbrush almost at around the same time. I used a lot of 3D software before then, both of those. But I enjoy working in Zbrush a lot more than I enjoy working in Maya, right? And now I'm learning Blender, and so I'm going to see if I like working in that as much. And if I don't, then I'll only use Blender for specific things, just like I use Maya for specific things. All right, hope that answers your question. Okay, so I guess Manuel is saying that there is a translate option in videos that are not streaming live. So if you want, that's a good point. Maybe you can go in and do that after this will be available after this is over, after 9 p.m. today, my time. So after that, you can go watch the video and see if there's a translate option, and then. Okay, cool. Thanks, Manuel. That's really nice of you to share that information. Okay, so how are we doing on time? We're doing great. So let's go ahead and start kit bashing. So with kit bashing, it's basically kind of a hunt and peck thing. So what I will do here is I'll go to the first set here that I have visible, and I'm going to hide everything else. Just let's go to that first set here. And find a part, right now I just want to kind of put in the rockets for this thing. So I'm looking to see if there are rocket looking, kind of exhaust looking things. And I don't see any that are compelling. This looks pretty close, but not really. All right, so let's move on to the next kit here. Let's zoom out. So again, I'm just basically checking out these kits to see if there are parts that will fit what we want to do. I like this part. I might use it somewhere. This looks good right here. Let's see. So let me go back to selection here, and let me select this. Right, and let's zoom in on it. I like this thing as type of a part that I can use. Right, so basically what I do with these kit bash parts is I have them all loaded in at the same time. Right, so here, let me just show everything. Right, I have them all loaded in as sets, and then I find the ones that I want, and then I do two things to them. And I've actually, I have a script that actually isolates them for me. Wow, this thing is cool, man. I wish I saw this thing before, because this is what I would have used as the Nano Meshes. This looks like a little building thing. I might use it for something else later. Right now, none of these are really doing anything I need, so I'm going to move on to the next set. And these sets are a lot smaller. Nothing space exhausty here, not these ones either. How about these ones? Nope. These ones, no. Still no. Of course, it's going to be in the last one, right? Right here, I'm just going to go scroll down. And I've got a lot of kit bash sets. I mean, I do, I spend a lot of time kit bashing, so I have a lot of, here we go. Here is one right here. This looks okay. Let's see if there's more. 22. What these ones right here? This kind of looks interesting, but no. This looks interesting in the form of maybe like on the bottom. But this thing doesn't land, so that's not going to work. Okay, let's move on. Still no. And the last one is this one right here. And it looks like we don't have that many, which is not a good sign. So this had some interesting things we could use, but I think the only one that I found so far is the one we saw earlier, which is this one. Yeah, a lot of this, in this kit bash kit, a lot of these were flipped, so I had to go in and flip the individual parts, like the guy mirrored it over, and then that basically flipped the normals, and it might have looked good in whatever program he was using, but in ZBrush, some of the parts looked inside out, so I had to go in and clean them up. So I spent a good, evening just doing that. All right, so when I have the kit bash part that I want, let's say I want this part, the first thing I do here is I duplicate it. So I'm going to do this manually. So here I have this part. I'm going to duplicate it. Okay, so now that I have it duplicated, though, the other parts are still there, right? So the other parts are still there for this one and for this one as well. But I don't want the other parts, so I'm going to delete all the hidden parts. And then another thing that I do is I unify it. So it's in the center, right? And then I copy it, go to my spaceship, and paste it. So for all the things that I just did, I have a script that does it for me. So here I'm just going to go ahead and paste. And it's going to be huge, of course, and then I'll just unify it here as well. And let's see, right? So now it's there. I don't want it to be there. I want it to be down here like this and smaller. Right? And we're going to add these in the back over here like so. Right, and this is going to be the propulsion system that's going to move the spaceship. Let me turn the floor off. Okay, here we go. All right, so this is good the way it is, but I might want to do some extra things to it. So here I'm going to try and see if Extender does anything nice to it. So here I'm just going to use Extender, turn perspective off. And let's see what happens if I do this. Okay, so this is creating kind of more of an interesting shape than just what we had before. So I'm going to go with that. And another thing I'm also going to do here, go to local symmetry, and I'm going to mirror and weld this thing in Z. The other way around, so let's mirror it in Z first. Weld, and it created something like this. No, I kind of like it the way it is, so let's just leave it the way it is for now. All right, so let's see it with the rest of the ship. Okay, this looks interesting, and let's rotate it like so. So yeah, I'm using a kit bash part, but I'm not using it vanilla out of the box. I'm actually doing some changes to it. And what I got to worry about is the intersection with the rest of the ship. So I might use some other kit bash parts to kind of work that piece out. So let me move this over to here. So that looks good. And now I want to add this to the other side. Let's see what that looks like. Oh, nope. Let's turn local off. All right. So that's looking good. Like that. Oops. Let's turn symmetry on. Find a good angle for these guys. That looks good. Like that. All right, and then move this in here, and then I'm going to do something else to this as well. So let me solo it out, and let's turn Extender on again. And I don't know here if I'm going to, let's see if this mirrors it. Yeah, it does. That's nice. Okay, but I want to extend it from here. Let's see what this does. All right, that looks good. Let's accept that. And then I'm going to do extender one more time. So you guys can see that I did start with a kit bash kit, but I'm not using. Let's turn symmetry off and extender. It's weird, it worked before, but it's not working now. It doesn't matter. And I want to extend it this way as well. All right, so now it's looking like this. All right, so these are kind of going to be kind of the main thrusters it has. I'm experimenting with, like, do I make these bigger, smaller? Definitely smaller. Okay, and then I have to worry about what's going on in the front here, which shouldn't be that big of a deal. Oh, okay. So little bongo cat. Okay, yeah, you kind of got your answer. Cool. And yeah, Star Citizen or Elite Dangerous would be great for this. Also, kind of like the idea of having this in like a show like Expanse or something like that. It would be nice to. Battlestar Galactica. No, I'm sorry. Well, it could go into Battlestar Galactica, or maybe even. Let's see, what other show was I thinking of? The Expanse, Star Trek. I don't know, any of these shows. All right, and then here I'm going to go ahead and use the clip curve again, and I don't need this part over here, so I'm going to make this shorter. Maybe even shorter than that. Like maybe something like this. All right, that looks pretty much like what I want, so that's good there. I'm going to leave it that. Yeah, Star Trek, sure. All right, so it's doing the autosave. Let's let it do that. Video got really blurry. Let's see what's going on here. I think sometimes it gets dark and then the video becomes really, let me see if I can. That's weird. I'm reattaching the video. Let's see if that does it any better. Cancel. Sorry, the video just dropped. So if you guys just hold on for a sec, I'll fix it. See here. All right, if it doesn't work this time, I'm just going to not have video for the rest of the session. Configure video, deactivate, activate. All right, let's see. Yeah, I think we're gonna forego video for the rest of discard, save. Let me try this one last time. Deactivate. No, it just doesn't want to do it. All right. So I'm sorry. We're gonna have to not do video for the rest of the thing, which is okay. Somebody was saying that asking me if things are opening up in LA very slowly. We're not out of the woods yet, so things are still not opening up. I think people are starting to. I mean, the number of illnesses is kind of on the rise, so it's always good to be more careful. They are very slowly opening up. It's kind of weird, you know. Everybody has to wear a mask, social distance, all that stuff. Wash your hands, all that goodness. All right, so here, let's see, moving this to the back. I'm trying to see if I can get an interesting silhouette. I think it's nice. It's cooler when it's inside here. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and look for other parts. So I'm going to jump back into my Kit Bash Bonanza here. I don't need this one anymore. Delete it. And let's find some other parts that would look good. Again, you know, you kind of always have to figure out. Here, let's just show everything, and then I can just zoom in on what I want. Not the first two, though. All right. Let's see here. I'm going to try one more thing with the video. Sorry. It's still kind of... One last thing I forgot I could also do. Right. Did that turn on? I need a better video camera. The one I have is decent, but it's kind of funky in so many ways. All right. Yeah, I think the only way I can get this thing to work is if I shut down my streaming thing and bring it back up, which I don't want to do. So I'll just continue. Hopefully you guys don't mind as much. All right, so now I'm going to look for other Kit Bash parts to put on there. Let's see if there's anything else that's interesting here. So there's plenty of really cool stuff, but the scale has to work. Kind of like this thing right here. All right, I'm going to grab it. Actually, I need to go to that subtool. Copy, paste, delete hidden, unify. So all these things, I'll do this one more time manually, and then I'll just use my script. And solo F, copy, and let's paste it into our project. Paste. Unify again. All right, this has some interesting aspects to it. Maybe turned upside down. Center this. So see if I can somehow fit this in the bottom. I like that, but I don't know if I like these top parts, so let me just solo this out. And I think these are separate pieces, so let me go to Polyframe and go to ZModeler, Polyframe Island, or Polygroup Island, this one, and right, we don't need that one part. Delete hidden. And let's see how that looks now. All right, this part looks good. I don't know if I want these kind of parts on the side here too. So this one. Invert, delete hidden. And maybe I don't want these ones too. All right, so now I'm basically just isolating the parts that I do want to have. And I kind of like this over here, like so. And, but I'm going to use the extender with this as well. So here. Extender. And I want to move this blue dot over to here. Let's extend it out. I think I went a bit too far. Maybe here, like so. Move this out, and then I kind of like the, let's see if this will work. When you're working with kit bash parts, especially like kit bash parts like this one, it's always good to save often and save early, because a lot of these are bad bad topology, so they might cause all sorts of issues. Actually, I'm just going to accept this one and then do it again, just so I get that dot in the center. How about if I do it this way? About there. That's good. Let's see what that looks like. All right, so I'm kind of liking the way this is looking in the back. I want to move this, maybe, let's see, is it better like this? Yes, it is. All right, so this is how this is going to be back here. All right, so again, there's some details here that are, you know, these kind of holes or whatever. I can fix that later, but that's looking good. Let's see what other types of kit bash parts I want to add. On here. All right, so let me switch back to my kit bash kits here. All right, we don't need this one anymore. Delete it. Go back to select rectangle here. Let's see what other parts would be nice to have. So the antenna kind of thing in the front, I don't know if it's an antenna or some sort of sensor array or something like that. I need to figure out a way to create that kind of an enclosure for it. All right, so let's see. Crowhis is asking if I have beginner courses available online. I personally don't, but there are plenty of people that do, and if you want me to give you some names, I can. There's amazing folks that teach Zbrush. Oh, look, I missed one here. So this is the kind of problem I was talking about with the kit bash kits, right? So this thing over here, let's look at that one. And maybe it might be a good thing to show how I fix those. So here, let's say this kit bash part right here, right? See how this is inside out? It's because what the guy did is he mirrored this over, and that flipped the normals. So it's looking fine, excuse me, here on the bottom, but on the top, it looks inside out. So what I need to do is separate this out, flip the normals on it, and bring it back. And to do that, I do this. So I'm polymesh it, I'm polygroup it, do that to it, and I can split it to split hidden. Actually, before I do that, let me do these ones too, because this one's kind of bad. So is this one, and so are these. Oops. I need to get it precisely on that object. Since it's inside out, it's kind of hard to select it. Oops. All right, so these are all the parts that are inside out. And what I want to do is just select these ones and flip them. So display properties and flip. And now they look right. I still have to fix these ones right here. So I'll do that later. It's not that important. I'm probably not going to use this part anyway. Excuse me. I'm starting to lose my voice. All right, so let's see. I think I like this part for the antenna, so I'm going to use this one right here. Let's see if I can find something else that is compelling. For that part, there's plenty that will do the job. So let's go ahead and unsolo. Crois, okay, yeah. So for learning ZBrush, right, for beginner stuff, here's what I would do, right? I would start out with the free stuff, which is I would go to pixologic.com/zclassroom. Right here, I'll put this in the text in the chat. So here you can click on this and go to this website. I think for beginners this is really good, and there's different sections. You can pick one you want, but I think there's also if you click on show all here, all ZBrush lessons. No, we don't want to see everything. You can just click on beginner. That shows you all the beginner courses, and in the beginner courses there are a few that are very specific. And so you can find the ones that are here. So that's one place you can go. Another place you can go is if you go to YouTube.com and you go to Pixologic videos on YouTube. So if you go to YouTube and go to Pixologic ZBrush, right? So here you can go to playlists, and I think there is there are some playlists that are beginner playlists. But specifically the ones I'm talking about are by Joseph Drust. So here he is. So here, ZBrush Classroom Live Modeling Basics, right? So he's doing, and he does these every once in a while, so you might want to look at the schedule to see when he does them. So these are really good. So if you want to do free lessons, these are good. If you want to do a little bit more advanced, or if you want to do free lessons that are specific, so for stylized stuff, I think Shane Olson, who also does streaming right here, if you like this kind of stuff, right, you can go to Shane Olson's stream and do it. And also, I think he's got some paid for classes. There are books you can get. Eric Keller, a good friend of mine, has written one. And there's multiple editions of that. However, I don't think they're books on the newer versions of ZBrush. I think everything is online. And then Maddie Spencer has in Gnomon. So if you go to Gnomon Workshop, here, if you look for by instructor, and it's Maddie Spencer, where is it? Is it by last name? It is. So, oops, Spencer. Where are you? Steven Starish. Here we go. Maddie Spencer has one, which is Introduction to ZBrush 2020. And this one's got like hours and hours and hours of video, and it's really good too. So you've got a lot of different choices of learning ZBrush. If you're a beginner, there are plenty of places to go. Schools teach it. I teach ZBrush at Otis, College of Art and Design. I've taught it at Art Center, and I've also taught it online. I'm looking into doing an online offering as well, so stay tuned for that. So there again, there's a lot of ways to do it. Hopefully that answers your question. The only thing I will tell you to do is, be patient. It takes a while. A lot of people get frustrated and don't continue. What I'm doing here is a lifetime of learning. It's not just something I picked up a week ago. I've been using ZBrush for almost 8 to 10 years. All right, so still trying to find a good piece for the antenna. I'm liking this. There's quite a few that'll work for this one, but I want to find one that's kind of more. I think maybe let's try this one. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use this script that does it for me, which is kit bash duplicate, which will do all this stuff, and copy it, and then I'll just go into my spaceship and paste. Unify. All right, and I want this to be a lot smaller, and I want it to be rotated, rotated this way, like so, and I want it to basically be the arm that holds this antenna over here, or this sensor array, or, I haven't decided what it is yet. So just really small, and just kind of have it be over here. Okay, and on here, just like before, there are certain things I don't want, so I'm going to have to eliminate those things. But for now, let's see if this works. Okay, first let's extend. I'm going to extend it. And I want this to kind of break the silhouette that I have. And maybe it's not really, yeah, maybe do it this way. And I kind of like this sticking out here this way, but I don't like this part. So let's just go ahead and start removing the parts we don't want. So for that, what I do is I know these are separated out, they're not connected, so I'm just going to use ZModeler and polygroup island, so this one, oops. I don't want those, I don't want the cylinder here, or this one, or this one. Right, so let's get rid of those, and then I kind of like this part over here, maybe I can figure out something to do with it. But it looks like there's some other parts here too. This one, and I'm going to leave the innard. Here's another problematic one, so let me just do that one too, and this one. Okay, and then I'm just going to isolate these polygroups. And delete hidden. All right, so this is kind of what I wanted. Let's turn polyframe off, see what that looks like. So that's looking pretty cool, and definitely adds a little bit of asymmetry to it. I've got a nice big blank space here that I can do stuff with as well. Look, there's another one of those flipped things over here. No worries. What I will do here is I will do the same thing with them. And over here too, geez. Yeah, that's the problem with some of these kit bash parts, is they've got a lot of issues. So I wish I'd known that earlier, because I could have mirror and welded it, but now it's too late to do that. So what I'm going to do is just delete them. Trying to see if there's a quicker way of doing it. Delete hidden. Get rid of that as well. And I think that did it. Yep. Okay. All right, so now I've got this kind of thing over here, and it's added an interesting silhouette. I just need to make sure that however it is interacting with the existing spaceship is as seamless as possible. So let's see if I can. I think I need to maybe move this up a little bit. Let's get that angle right. Okay. You can go to the Gnomon Workshop now. The Gnomon Workshop is just videos online. It's not the school. The school's a whole other thing. School's really good too. I've taken courses there. It's a great school. I might be teaching there one day too. All right, so let's see. I think that looks good for now. I don't want to be messing around with it too much. And I might boolean some of it out, but for now it looks okay. All right, so that's that. And maybe this is some sort of a kind of a communication array or something like that here. All right, so I want to put another piece up here. So let's go ahead and go back to the kit bash parts, see what's going on there. Okay, so this one I don't need it anymore, so I can just delete it. And let's see here. And again, you kind of want to use kit bash parts, but you don't want to use them the way they are. And also the kind of the design language has to mesh with what you've got going on. So you kind of have to figure out, is this working with my design language or is it not? And if it's not, then you probably want to do something different. I like this little thing here. I have to figure out a way to incorporate that into the model, but not right now. All right, I'm going to switch back to these guys, see if I can find something there. Ooh, this looks good. Maybe go up to this. And again, when I'm looking at these, I don't look at them as they are. I look at them as what they, could be, or how they could work. So a lot of parts here that look interesting that I can incorporate, but not maybe this one right here. Okay, let me turn perspective off. Okay, that's good. And let's do the kit bash duplicate. There it is. And we'll go to my spaceship and paste and unify. I'll probably create a script to do the paste and unify. Turn this around this way and resize it. A lot smaller. And extend it. So here what I want to do is I want to extend it, but I want this blue dot to be further back. to maybe about there. So you can see this has become like a completely different part now. And maybe further, I think this is as much as it'll go for now, except, and let's see. So this could be like some big thing that's on top of the spaceship. Like so. Now, one of the things, if ZBrush is, I mean, it's interacting okay with what I've got going on, but these are pretty high density models, the spaceship body, so I could probably reduce that down if I'm having slowing down issues. That looks okay over there. Let's see if it'll allow me to do this. That didn't work out too well. So the good news is I could probably squish it down too if I wanted to. All right, I'm going to try extending it again. This time go this way. That's good. And I'm going to try one other thing here, see if that works out. So what I'm going to do here is mask. Let me do it this way. Select the polygroup. Ah, that's what's happening. I'm like, why is it not? Because these are different parts. Here we go, and I just want the inverse of that. There it is. Good, and now what I want to do is I want to mask this and this. Turn symmetry on. Now maybe this isn't going to work. Let's see if it works this way. There you go. This is what I want. Just like that. Let's find the angle. That's a good angle right there. So let's get this sunken in. So now it has this kind of cool top part. And again, I just want to make sure it is going to incorporate nicely into whatever's there before. And I think this could be a little bit bigger, so let me turn symmetry off, move this to the center, and do that. All right, so now I'm getting kind of some other cool silhouette things that are going to make my spaceship interesting. Let's see, looks like we have a bunch of questions. Like the cargo bay. JessX is saying it looks like a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. Like I said, I really enjoy working in ZBrush. I always look forward to these streams because that means I get 2 hours of uninterrupted time to work on ZBrush, doing cool stuff. Okay, so so this top part here, I probably will put stuff in front of it, but for now, this kind of it breaks that silhouette nicely, and I kind of wanted to break this scoop a bit as well. So let me try and see what happens if I angle this. Nope. Nope. Yeah, I just have to keep it straight. Move it up like so. And I wanted to continue this top A line but it's not doing it as well. All right, I think that's good. I have to find something to put in the back of it. It's too much. I wonder what will happen if I try to squish it, if that'll work. No. I think this is going to be as good as it gets, and then I got to put other kit bash parts around it. It would be nice if I could pull this forward, so I'm going to try and doing that. So at any point in time, you can start sculpting. One thing I'm going to do here is just smear and weld this so it's symmetric, and then I'm going to switch to sculpting the move tool. Now remember, this is really bad topology, so as I start to move it, it's going to kind of fall apart. Right, so let's turn on symmetry. It's going to start, you see, it's going to start falling apart because it's really bad topology. And I don't mean bad like the guy made it bad. I just want to mean like it's probably coming from some sort of a CAD source. So it's going to react weirdly to my, right? Because if you look at the geometry here, it's kind of a weird geometry. So I can Dynamesh it and Zero Mesh it and do all sorts of stuff to it. But I'm trying to see if I can get away with using whatever topology it's got to get a different shape out of it. Right, like something like this, which actually doesn't look too bad. Right, and then see if I can do anything with this back part. Nope. No, I think I'm just going to keep the back part straight. But I like the way that when I brought this forward, the way that that kind of scooped up. So, all right. I think we're getting kind of there little by little. Let's see what other parts I can use. We're getting close to the end time here too. So if you guys have last minute questions, definitely ask before 9 o'clock, which is in 5 minutes. Okay, I'm going to delete this one. There's a lot of really cool pieces here that I can use. And a lot of these things don't have to really be, you know, they don't have to be very elaborate parts. The simpler they are, the better they are actually. One of these days I'm going to come up with my own kit bash. I have a kit bash kit already started, but I will come up with a different one. I kind of like this one. I'm going to do something kind of different with it. So I'm just going to select this one right here and use my script. And go to my spaceship and paste. And unify, right? And let's see, this thing looks okay. And what I want to do is I want to rotate it like this, make it a hell of a lot smaller. So I don't know if you guys, if you haven't watched it before, this down here is going to be a thing that launches a smaller craft out of it. So I just want to do this like that. Looks good. And then I want to copy it and make a bunch of them on the bottom. That looks good. So here I'm adding kit bash parts little by little, and I'll probably be doing this offline. By next time, I don't want to be modeling anymore. Next week, I'm going to start poly painting and texturing, and then start loading it into Keyshot and use the rest of the time to basically use the rest of the time to basically do look dev and get this thing to look nice. So let's see, any questions? Sculpting crystal, but I love trouble with ears being very flat, like when I used to build from edge of ears and I decided to get pulled. Okay. All right. So Crosis, I'll tell you how to do that. So first things first. For that, I'll just switch to this polysphere, right? So if you're going to add ears to something, the best way to do it, the way I do it all the time, is there's this brush here, which is the human parts brush. And where are you? It's an IMM brush, so I guess if I had I, limit it, here we go. IMM body parts, this one, right? So in here, I think there is an ear somewhere, and I don't know why they're coming up this way. Ear, here we go. And so let me turn symmetry on here, and I still don't know. Okay, so there are your ears right there, right? And then you can just move them in. So now I've got the sphere, and it's got ears. But I think your problem that you're mentioning is that the ears are too thin, so I'll do that too. So let's say I've got that problem, right? So let's say I'm sculpting these ears. And I'm going to do the inverse of what I'm going to do just to kind of make the point. So let's say I've got these ears. Got interrupted by an autosave. Just wait until this gets done. If anybody has any other questions, let me know, and I'll answer them. All right. This is a big file. It's saving the kit bash parts as well, so which is fine. I'll probably hone it down next time so it doesn't take this long to save. All right, here we go. All right, so here, right? Let's say that it's really thin like this, right? This is kind of the problem you're having. They're thin like that. What you do is you use the inflate brush and just inflate it back out like this. So I'm just using smooth and inflate and getting that bulk. Right, so now the ears have that bulkiness to them. Okay, so the inflate brush is the one you want to use. So B and then I. And then just use the move tool to just move this, into place. Like so. Let me unify this whole thing. All right, this should work better. Here we go. Right, and then you can just kind of work it out this way, creating some really interesting looking ears here. Okay, does that answer the question, Crosis? Is that what you meant? You're on YouTube, so I don't know if there's a delay. I'll wait a couple of seconds here to see if that was the solution you wanted. Okay, well, you're not, maybe you left. Oh, here we go. Okay, cool, awesome. So yeah, the inflate brush is your friend. And then everybody else, thanks for attending, we will see you again in a couple of weeks. So my schedule has moved on to Fridays. It's going to be in the schedule on zbrushlive.com, but also you can, it's Friday nights from 7 to 9 Pacific Standard Time or Pacific Daylight Savings Time, or I don't know which one we're in right now. But basically, this is the way we're going to do it on Fridays. This is episode 5. We've got maybe 3 more to go, and I might extend it to 10 or 11 if we need to, but I think I should be able to wrap this thing up in 8. Okay, Pelly Massey, you just joined, but you can watch this after the fact, right? So you can always go to Twitch. These are all saved, and you can watch it afterwards. Of course, you can't ask questions, but you can tune in a couple of Fridays and ask your questions then. With that, I'd like to wish everybody a good night. Stay safe out there, and I will see you soon. Thanks again.